Hi, and welcome to this for the Americans special Thanksgiving edition of Future of XYZ. For everyone else in the world, maybe you're looking for this on Thursday like normal, but we're actually releasing on Tuesday. Today we're going to be talking about a Thanksgiving relevant topic, fine dining. And with us, we have two acclaimed chefs and restaurateurs. Wylie Dufresne is in New York City, but originally from Providence, Rhode Island. And Joanne Makovitzky is a New Yorker, born and bred, who now lives in Connecticut. Both of you, thank you so much for being on Future of XYZ.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, quick bios before we dive into the topic. Joanne is the managing partner of Community Table Restaurant and Bar since 2018. That's in Connecticut, near where I live. She's also been the owner-operator of 4 other restaurants, including the Michelin-starred Brazilian sushi-style restaurant 15 East, all of which were in New York City. She is an active member of Les Dames d'Escoffier, which is an American philanthropic organization of women leaders in the food, beverage, and hospitality industries. And I'm so thrilled. She's also a very good friend of mine. So I'm very thrilled to have Joanne talking about this topic. Wylie Dufresne went to the French Culinary Institute, is among the world's most innovative and respected chefs. He rose to international fame for WD50, which was on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, and merged some pretty groundbreaking scientific tools alongside just great food, and held a Michelin star for the entire time that they ran it, from 2003 until about 2014, I believe. There's a cookbook. He's appeared as himself on Hulu's The Bear. He judges Bravo's Top Chef, Food Network's Beat Bobby Flay, and other competitions. And actually was shown as himself also on an episode of The Simpsons, which is pretty cool, I have to say. You guys, thank you so much for joining. We always start these Future of episodes with the topic of the future of XYZ. Today it's fine dining. So in the context of the conversation and your all's expertise, how do we define fine dining?
Ladies first.
Okay, thank you. So I would define fine dining as an elevated experience in a restaurant, a vision of chef, restaurateur, where people can go and experience fine ingredients prepared by expert cooks and chefs in a beautiful environment that would transport them for an evening or a lunch.
Yeah, I mean, I would certainly agree with that. I guess I don't know if this is helpful or not, knowing me, probably not. I might ask, in whose eyes are we defining it? Because I think the definition has changed over the years and continues to evolve. But I do think it starts with your arrival at a given restaurant and how you're greeted, and it and how you're treated and greeted, and a certain type of hospitality and service and dining, and then that follows through your beverage program, should you choose to engage in that, and be feted in a certain way by the hosts, and then whisked away out the door, hopefully with having had a positive experience. But I think it's tricky to define in this time. It's certainly in New York City where I am, but in this time it's a moving target more so than ever.
Well, I think that's exactly what we want to get to, which is why I really was excited to talk about this, because traditionally, I mean, historically, fine dining was reserved for the upper classes, right? And it was usually in a home before restaurants. Pubs weren't exactly fine dining. But traditionally now, in the last, let's say, 100, 150 years, fine dining, I think of, is equated to white tablecloths, carefully set silverware, a certain dress code, probably, formal service, as you guys both mentioned, meticulously prepared dishes, premium ingredients, and also usually a very much higher price point. Do you guys think that this is still the case, or is fine dining loosening up or evolving a bit?
I mean, I would definitely say that it's evolving. I don't think the white tablecloth is required and the silverware. For me, fine dining experience is something that's definitely elevated than the everyday. Something that you want to have an experience, not a meal. And whatever that restaurateur and chef want to express, it's their creativity, it's their vision, and you want to walk into their world and see how they want to express themselves in the hospitality and food genre.
And I think that I agree with all of that completely. I think some of it is also being shaped by the people that put pen to paper, and those people are deciding that perhaps some of the more traditional definitions of fine dining are not critical to an elevated experience. And so um, we can discuss certain moments on the calendar, perhaps, but I mean, I think, for instance, when Dave Chang was able to get 3 stars for a restaurant that had no from the New York Times, that had no tablecloths, had really loud music, had nobody in uniforms, and no real clear definition between the server and the customer. And I don't mean any of this as a negative. This is all, in fact, I was one of the first and best customers to ever dine in, Sambar or something like that. But I think when we look at certain moments like that we see people deciding that some of the trappings of fine dining that maybe some of us who are older grew up understanding might be different. And I think that as those people continue to evaluate, there's always a tricky relationship between those that do and those that write about those that do. And sometimes those that write get to decide how we do what we do. And so I think we are seeing a loosening up. Yes, that was my long answer to loosening up.
I love that. I'm curious, and I think our listeners and viewers will be curious about. I think restaurants are very sexy, and they always have been. There's this allure of the chef, and I don't think a lot of people see the hard work that goes behind it, or the incredibly hard work at most. But Joanne, you knew from a super young age that you wanted to be in this industry. You started as a buyer at the storied grocer, New York City grocer, Dean and DeLuca, and you later became the first female chef at La Caravelle, which is an amazing upscale French restaurant. And you attended the Culinary Institute of America, one of the most prestigious academies for chefs. What is it about food or about fine dining that drew you to the profession?
I just want to, can I just go back and just change some of those facts for accuracy? I'm sorry.
Sure.
So when I started cooking when I was 16, and I was a very, very low commis at La Caravelle, peeling carrots and potatoes that I was honored to do. And then I went to Culinary Institute of America. I went back and cooked at La Caravelle under Michael Romano, who I think was also one of the game changers at Union Square Cafe, Danny Meyer's first restaurant, who also switched at that time, a little earlier than David Chang, switched the face of dining in New York, Union Square Cafe. I then went to work at Dean and DeLuca very happily. When I needed a break from the heat and the sharp knives of the kitchen. So I'm sorry, I just wanted to digress a little bit. So would you just remind me of where we were going with that?
I was just going to ask, what drew you to the profession?
Oh, the short answer is I was always curious what went on behind the swinging doors. And I felt that there was such synergy and energy in a restaurant, and things were happening that as a young person was intriguing of how did all of this happen so quickly? How did the food get to the table? How did everyone know what to do? So I was just so curious and wanted to be part of that process. I loved creating things. I loved hospitality. I loved cooking for my family and friends. And it was just very natural for me to slip into the industry. And however hard it's been, I loved every day of it.
Thanks for that. And thanks for clarifying the timeline in the background. I don't always get facts right, so I appreciate when guests
That's
do
okay.
that.
That would get some big, hard notices out there.
Fair. Wylie, a similar question. And again, correct if the bio is wrong, but you got your first hands-on experience at your great-grandfather's diner. And you later went on to apprentice under one of the world's most renowned chefs, Jean-Georges Van Cheren. I can never say his name, French-American chef, eventually becoming the chef de cuisine at his eponymous restaurant in New York, Jean-Georges. What drew you to fine dining?
Well, again, I did not rise to the chef de cuisine at John George. I was a sous chef there. But I was a chef de cuisine, another one of his restaurants in Las Vegas. But nonetheless, I have been working in restaurants since I was 11 years old, and I got to I mean, that was because my dad was in the restaurant business initially, but later in life it was because had I had my druthers, I would have loved to have been a professional athlete, perhaps a baseball player. But since I do not possess any sort of natural ability beyond the average American male, I that was not in the cards for me. But I did discover in my around the age of 20 that much of the things I loved about playing sports were to be found in the kitchen. The hierarchy was very similar between there being, a coach and a chef, and then a captain, and maybe a sous chef, and role players and prep cooks, and you practice during the day, and you have a game at night, or you do prep during the day, service at night, and but mostly there was this sort of redemptive quality to life in the kitchen that mimics sports. In a game, you strike out, or you miss a layup, or you drop the ball, or you just make a mistake, and it's the same thing with cooking. Okay, I've overcooked a steak, or I've undersalted this, or I forgot this, or but we're going to do this all over again. Cooking is highly redemptive, and I loved the idea, the life lessons that I found that I loved from playing team sports. I immediately realized were present in the kitchen, all of this group of people working towards a common goal and a common experience, and doing it happily, and suffering without any displeasure, and loving every minute of it. And so I was immediately drawn to the brigade, because it felt like I was on a team, because I was on a team, because I am on a team still to this day. And it's the best part of my job is being with that team every day.
It's like a symphony for you both. I love watching it firsthand, knowing a little bit behind the scenes. I want to come back to fine dining, and breaking down the kind of what we'll call the elements that we talked about before. What do you guys think in 2025 and looking ahead for, let's say, just even the next 1 or 2 years? What is the number one most important aspect? Is it the ingredients that are used, the atmosphere, ambiance, the service, innovation, like something else entirely? Wylie, you want to go first this time? Just take a stab.
What is the number one most important thing? I'm not sure that I could distill it down to a single thing, because I think what makes restaurants special is 1,000 little things being done at the same time without you noticing any of it happening. And I think that the more things that are happening at once without you knowing it, the more you're being looked after, the more things are right, from the lighting, the music, to the everything, the more things that are happening in a way that you never perceive, that you sort of seamlessly coast through this experience, and you arrive, and then before you know it, you've left, and you go home, and all you have are these beautiful memories. So I'm not sure that I think it's probably the opposite. I think fine dining at its finest is many, 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 many things all happening at once in a way that you perceive very few of them.
Joanne, what do you think?
I agree 100% with Wylie, and your analogy with the symphony is one that I noted as well. if I had to choose one thing of the future, and it's something that is clear now, but I think will continue, I think is the globalization. Just really creating a smaller world, us all coming together by different nationalities, elevating simpler cuisines or more complex cuisines, elevating regional cuisines into elevated cuisines, which people have been doing, but I think that's something that will continue. I also think, on a more micro level, definitely the sustainability, vegetables, alternate proteins. Maybe that's across the board, not only in fine dining, but I think that will become a major part of what we're going to see in fine dining over the next 25 years.
Yeah, I want to touch on that in a minute. And we're going to do a rapid fire towards the end, and that will be one of the main topics. For now, I'm curious. Both of you have had restaurants that had a Michelin star. Already, this is far from a small achievement. Equally, Wylie, you won the James Beard Award for Best Chef in New York pretty much as soon as you sold WD-50. But Joanne, your restaurants also have had James Beard nominations multiple times as well. What role do external validations like accolades and awards and recognition play in making or sustaining a fine dining establishment specifically?
Mm-hmm. It has a lot of value monetarily. It also allows you to draw more talented professionals to work with you, people who want to be surrounded by what they consider excellence, people who want to learn from that and grow. And that's so important in running a restaurant, is being able to to attract the right talent. And it just brings attention to your restaurant. So it has a huge monetary value. That doesn't always mean that it's going to make the restaurant more successful. There's pitfalls too, by getting those accolades. I don't know if you want to go into that, but I would definitely say it's overall very positive.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It puts eyes on you, and so eyes on you hopefully means people coming, people talking about you, being, continuing to be part of the dialogue, and therefore a place that people want to go. But I think also internally, it's fantastic because we can't do this on our own. It's no great creative endeavor ever in the history of the world is the work of one person. And it's, as I like to say, there were 4 Beatles, if I recall. And so, what it does is it also is a great acknowledgement for the people that work really hard for us and allow us to do what we're doing. So yeah, sure, winning an award, me winning an award or the restaurant winning an award, that's ultimately wonderful. But what I see it is that means that the people that I feel fortunate to surround myself with are also being acknowledged, and they may not see it that way. So because their name isn't on the award often, or they're not mentioned often, unfortunately. But again, it's important to realize this is, restaurants, fine dining, or hot dog stands, they are team efforts and the work of many, and that when you get acknowledged, it's always important for us to make sure that trickles down to the team and that they feel acknowledged, because that's really what it boils down to, is that without them we wouldn't be able to do any of the things that we aspire towards.
Well, I understand that since we have the IF Design is my employer, but also the presenter of Future of XYZ, and we run a design award that is one of the largest independent design awards in the world. And I think a lot of the winners would say the same thing. It's about recognizing the team, about innovation, and bringing eyes onto a great project. So thanks for sharing that. I'm curious because both of you have right now new projects either launched, as in Wylie, your case, although I'm sure you have ones I don't know about that aren't, and Joanne, one that's just starting to get underway. I think both of them reflect an interesting shift in what constitutes fine dining, especially given both of your all's backgrounds. And I wonder if you'll agree, or if it's just a different way to perhaps attack the same challenge. Wylie, you came to prominence for this very modern scientific approach, kind of molecular gastronomy type situation. Yet you recently turned to two of America's favorite foods, donuts and coffee through Du's Donuts in Brooklyn, and then pizza as the chef and co-owner of Stretch Pizza, which now has 3 locations in New York. Explain the connection with fine dining, and if it's an indication of where things are going.
I don't know that I can draw a line through donuts, pizza, and fine dining. I can draw a line through my approach to cooking, my approach to food, and how we continue to apply the approach that we used in at WD-50, that we started really at WD-50, and we carry it through to this day as we try to make better pizza tomorrow than we did yesterday. But we're intentionally doing it in a very casual, not fine dining vibe, because we are hoping that it's the kind of place that, and people do come multiple times within a week, and there are not many people, though I'm sure there are some, that deal in fine dining or dine in fine dining multiple times in a week. But our hope, it's as equally satisfying to have and operate a restaurant that people might go to maybe 2 or 3 times a year as much as it is to operate one that people might go to 2 or 3 times a week. So our enthusiasm is parallel, but I don't think that, and our approach to making great food is parallel. But the trappings, the environment, the things that you find here, some of the things that define fine dining are not at play at the Stretches.
Fair. I appreciate that. And Joanne, Community Table, you've curated a restaurant that is as much a gathering place for the local and visiting community, including quite a number of very wealthy people and celebrities, as well as just general locals, as it is a restaurant that celebrates locally sourced ingredients and innovation. Now you're working on a new project, an adjacent project that feels more, and I don't really know, but it feels more event space, private dining, pop-up, experiential, explorative. Why?
I feel for me, growth. How do I want to grow? How can I take what was built and the team that we have and create something that's fun, that everyone's going to enjoy, that we're going to really enjoy doing together. The community, getting to know the community really well and seeing how they respond to food and gathering and their thirst to be together has driven me to create my, this new building that I'm building, an event space that will, hopefully again, bring the world together. So it's global. I hope to attract chefs from around the world to come visit. Let it be a space where young chefs want to try out having their own restaurant for a week or 2. Let them experiment. Let us be their guinea pigs and have fun with that. So I guess it's a little bit of a lab in a way. And it's just something I think that's fun and creative, and I hope everyone will enjoy. I feel like it's a natural next step.
I love that. I think both of your answers, at least to me, begin pointing us in a little bit of a new direction. Not necessarily, as we've just said, towards the future of fine dining, perhaps, but I'm hearing more and more in your answers as well in what kind of I'm experiencing and loving, which is, again, less white tablecloth, less, formality, and more about experience in the dining experience. So like thinking about pop-ups and personalization and intimacy / privacy, education, even collaboration. What do you guys think? Like, what are the trends in dining generally that are like moving, perhaps maybe not away from fine dining, but kind of redefining?
I think, as Joanne mentioned earlier, globalization, or a myriad of cultures, concuisines at present. I mean, New York. I think New York's a lot of cities, but I can only feel comfortable speaking about New York. There's an ebb and a flow to a city's dining culture. And I think that, there are times when New York can be an exciting city to dine in. There are times when other cities are more exciting. And I think right now, New York is super exciting. It's, I'd say COVID, we saw obviously a real dip and drop in fine dining specifically, but I think fine dining is back in New York, but fine dining is back in New York in a very different way than it was pre or those times when it might have been more limited to more sort of specifically a European, continental European, French, mostly some Japanese, but fine dining was pretty limited in terms of the upper echelon restaurants. But now we see Korea, we see Italy, we see continue to see Europe, we see Korea, we see all sorts of foods and cultures and chefs from all, expressing all sorts of global interests in a way that make dining in this city of New York right now super, super, super exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I love going into the city now, and I miss a lot of it, and I definitely miss the restaurants. Yeah, so I think maybe the playfulness, and again, it's an experience. So fine dining, I'm going to say, is about creating an experience, and that doesn't mean that it has to be haughty-taughty, but I think it has to take you transform, like transcend you for the evening. So, or whatever meal period is. So you sort of want to walk in off the street and have this experience that's very different from the rest of your day and from the rest of your week and maybe from the rest of your month. So whatever that looks like, could be anything. It doesn't have to be white tablecloths or Dom Perignon for sure.
I love that. Okay, we're coming on time, so we're going to do a few rapid fire questions, which means like the shortest possible answers you guys can give. Okay. So the first one will be three things. The first is, what is the role of sustainability and ethics in fine dining today?
Wylie. You want a quick answer?
Of course. As fast as possible.
Yes. No, I mean, I think chefs, it's a funny thing that we talk about sustainability a lot because chefs have always been interested in that. So we've always been interested in sustainability. We've always been interested in relationships with the people that grow, produce, raise our food. So sustainability is not going anywhere.
Joe?
Yeah, very high and more aware every day. It's top of our mind.
Okay, next pop-up. What is the role of technology in the future of fine dining? Whether back of house or front of house or in between?
I always say technology is limited. It's the people. That's what's another great thing about our industry. It's really about it's all about people, and technology can help us in certain ways, but it's definitely not going to take the place of the things that truly matter.
I mean, technology is how people are going to find us in the future. So I sort of am going to go the opposite way and say technology is going to be super vital, and our relationship with technology is going to be, we're going to rely on it to reach our customers and to find more customers.
Yeah. So the outbound versus the inside experience.
Yes.
Okay. Last one of the role of, what is the role of storytelling in fine dining?
I think storytelling, I mean, that's what cooking is. When you cook, you're telling stories, you're tapping into memories. Storytelling is in many ways what we do. It can be very personal, it can be very general, but cooking is kind of always and will always be about storytelling.
I mean, I agree. I always tell people that you know a chef by the food on the plate. It's the chef's personality that hits the plate, and you can't transfer that. So it's a very personal story that's being told by every chef, every restaurateur.
I love that. Okay, one more rapid fire, a little different before we go to the final question, which is the same in every episode of Future of XYZ. And this one, I'm putting you guys both on the spot, so you get to fight over who goes first. Name one, either top most favorite idea, trend, person, or place that's inspiring you the most right now in the fine dining space, and why?
Go ahead, Joanne.
Oh, no, I need to think on that. That's tough. Oh, you more in it than I am. I'm just a country girl now. What are the give me the choices?
Idea, trend, person, or place.
Oh. Well, I just because I'm so insulated here, where I live just inspires me every day. The farmers that show up at my door, where I get to go drive to pick up our meat, the farmer that shows up and says, I have these cucumbers, can you do anything with them? Or I get a phone call, I have a half a case of strawberries. Do you want them? I mean, these farmers are so inspirational. And that's what drives, I think, our chefs and our customers. And I'm so proud and happy when I get to say these were dropped off by so and so this morning. And now they're like, these are delicious. So I'm going to say cheers to the farmers. They inspire me every day.
I love that. Wylie?
I mean, again, the city itself, I think New York and the people that live here are constantly inspiring. I think that, we have an amazing city with an amazing mix of people that some that are from here, some that are from all over. And I just think that New York City itself is really an inspiring place to be. I feel lucky to have been here basically, for 50 years at this point. And, I'm constantly proud of my city and excited by my city and glad and grateful for being here.
I love both of those answers.
Can I just add? So I think it's interesting that we both feel that way. And I'd like to say that maybe even a restaurant has its own terroir.
I
Yours
totally
being
agree.
Manhattan, mine being the countryside in Connecticut. And it's sort of what's at the essence of our restaurants.
For sure.
I love that. Okay, last question. Same one for everyone, every episode. In conclusion, what's your greatest hope for the future of, in this case, fine dining in 25 years, which brings us to 2050?
I hope I'm still here for it.
I have a good feeling. Pizza is the world's greatest food.
Healthiest.
I mean, I again, it's going to be really interesting to see where we go. I hope that I'm still around. I hope that I'm still able to contribute to it. I think I still have some unrealized ideas, and I hope that they can find their way. But I get great inspiration from the fact that, some of the people I worked for, like Jean-Georges and Danielle, and that they're still, 75 or however old they both are. I don't know exactly, but they're close to that number and still really making relevant contributions. I mean, Danielle just opened, La Tête d'Or right across the street from us this last year. And it's a new version of a steakhouse. It's happening in a city that is, got what you might think of are enough steakhouses. So I just hope that I'm able to find that same level of enthusiasm and sort of vibrancy that those that come before me have, because it's inspiring to see that they're still at it and in an excited and new and not tired way.
Love that.
I mean, I hope that the public still finds great enjoyment in gathering together around a table and enjoying curated food, beautiful food that people have worked really hard on creating for them, and still want that experience, and and they put their cell phones away.
I think that's a beautiful place to end. Wylie Dufresne, Joanne Makovitzky, thank you both so much for joining me on this special Thanksgiving episode of Future of XYZ.
Thank
you. Thanks for having us. Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Gobble, gobble.
Gobble, gobble to all the Americans out there. And for everyone else in the world, thank you for listening and tuning in. Visit New York City, I think and Connecticut are two of the messages. And we'll see you again in 2 weeks. If you didn't already know that you can watch on YouTube, check out Future of XYZ there, or subscribe wherever you get your favorite podcasts. We'll see you again, and thank you.
Thank you.